PSS Pro version 3. We're going to talk about what I call the heart of the software, and that is the process entry. In the process entry, we have new case. As we can see as I roll over these, in case for those of you that may have skipped the overview video, as you roll over these to the right, it tells you what they do. Alright, create a new case. We're not going to do that right now. What we're going to do is view a case that we currently have, and I'm not going to do a bunch of typing. I'm just going to show you. The client reference is the most important part of this whole software system. If you sit down and just take 5 or 10 minutes and determine what format do you want your client references to show up, then you'll always put them in the same way, and then what will end up happening is when you get this set of papers in May, and then you get a new set of papers on the same case in October or at the end of the year, you'll be able to get right back to the same case. What a PSS Pro ID and the case number are one and the same. The case number, or PSS Pro ID, listed down here, number 1, shows you basically the client reference. One thing before I go on about client reference, I found out it was real easy to get the client matter numbers from your client. All you have to do is tell them, from now on we need these, we have new software and they're important to us. Good thing about it is they'll send them to you. All you got to do is just train them for about a week. Oh, I didn't get the client matter number, and they'll send it to you. Another benefit of having the client matter numbers is when they get their affidavit and they get their invoice, it helps you get paid faster. There's nothing like the people saying, I don't know who this goes to, so I'll just put this affidavit and invoice right here for right now, and I'll get to it later, and it gets stuck under their desk, and then 6 months later you end up getting paid, or they tell you they never got the invoice. Alright, so figure out a way to do that so that it's all uniform, all the same. Okay, it's going to be very important. You'll understand in a minute. Court. There's something here right now listed, Arapahoe County Court. So I'm going to click on this button right here, and you can see that it brings up all the court information. We can edit this information if it's incorrect or if it changes right from that tab. If there was nothing there, then basically we could just type something in, city, and this is how Denver does it. Now you know why I said I was going to type. A new entry. This is not in the database. I know it. So when I hit return, it says City and County of Denver County Court does not exist. Would you like to add it now? If I add it now, then basically it allows me to put the address in. I don't know really what the address is off the top of my head. Second line of the address, Denver, CO, 80112. And then a phone number. Alright, and then email address or whatever. So if we save it, now it's in the system all the time, and look what happens. They're both there. So the next time if I want to change this, or if I'm typing in a new one, if I just start typing there we go, Arapahoe District Court. If it was Arapahoe County, County Court, then that's how it would be, and then basically that's where we could use the tab to get to the next one. That's how that works. That works the same way throughout all the programs. For all these buttons that are left to the left of a field, that's the data tables that we were doing the lookup tables on. If it's blank and we hit court, we can actually just bring the form up and go ahead and type it. We just found it's easier to just type it. You know, as you get a bunch of stuff in here, you don't know if it's in here or not, and you'll just start typing and go from there. So we have the case number. You can put the case numbers in as you want. We're trying to give you a sample of what we think looks best, but what's best for you is what's most important. Plaintiff, this is the drop down for the plaintiff defendant. We can select any of these ones to be here. We can change them. If it's there, then you're basically going to bring, if you select this, it's just going to bring up a different one, and you can select that way by double clicking it. Plaintiffs. We believe, again, this is where we type everything in capital and separate it by small a and d to separate the names. Here's some magic here. First, there's two things I want to show you. As these are memo fields, so basically, if you want to be able to see more of what you're typing, just hit the little pencil on the right of the field, and then you can see a bigger view of the picture. That only works on memo fields, and you'll always see, once you put the cursor in there, you'll see it to the right. As far as defendant is concerned, and you can do this in plaintiffs also, this looks really funny because we have Mark K. Smith, semicolon, space, comma, semicolon, Ann Smith, semicolon, space, A and D, space, semicolon, Sally Smith. Let me tell you why we did this. Sometimes, like in this particular case, we would be serving 3 different people. I felt that it was easier when we were going to serve 3 of the same defendants. It would be easier just to have them do in a drop-down list. So we wrote a filter that filters out the semicolon. So the semicolon will never show on any report ever. But what the semicolon allows us to do is to tell where we want to break this off and where we want to divide things so that it's easier to just do the drop down and we don't have to retype all these names. Imagine having 26 defendants and having to look at the paper and retype the names each time. So the way it works is, because the semicolon is after Smith, then Mark Smith will be separate. The space, comma, and this is actually wrong. It should be, and I'll fix it now. It should be comma, space, semicolon, and there's another semicolon here. There we go. And then, so if I correct it like that, what will happen is Mark Smith will be in a drop down. The semicolon, the comma, and the space will be in the drop down. And I think it might be easier just to show you. So let me save this. Anytime you open that up like that, it's just best to go ahead and save it. Let me show you what it looks like. And I'm just going to go to this field sheet page in a second, and then I'll explain to you field sheets. When we do the drop down to the serve to, Mark Smith, there's the comma by itself, there's the Ann Smith, and there's the Sally Smith. So what would happen is, as I'm going along and I am typing all this stuff, then basically when I hit M, then Mark's name automatically shows up. If it's Mitch, because I'm going to serve a Mitch, then I just would go ahead and type Mitch because he's not in the defendant block. So that's why we did the semicolon. It takes about a week to 10 days to get used to. Now the people in my office use it and they don't even think about it. They don't even think about it. All right. Let me go back. So then we have the paralegal's name. In this particular case, it works just like it did, up in the court. If the person's name is not in there, then basically it will ask you if you want to add it. If you want to add it, then let me just show you how it works, just to show you. And then hit return. It says that's not in there. Would I like to add it now? So I add it now, and it brings up the blank form for me to do it. Remember, when you're putting it in a new client or server, that the display name and the address information is not something that you type in. The display name comes from these blocks up here. The company address comes from the company that you put right here. So I'm going to cancel that and get out of it. We'll go back to Jolene. If we were to put Jolene in here, then once we tab off of it, you see the name of her company comes up. The receive date. When you receive these papers, sometimes you receive papers yesterday that you don't get a chance to put in until today. When you put the date in, then as long as the date of this, well, let me just back up. Scratch that for now. We'll get on that in a second on another page. This is the normal way you put in the date. It's just two digits, 11, hit return, and then you're off. The way we put in the time, I don't like the idea of typing semicolons or the AM and PM. So if it's 8:52, I just put, you can put 0852. It's not military time, and then A, no space required. Hit the return, and it makes it 8:52. Or you can put 8:52 A, and it puts it in. Or 7:59 P for PM, and it puts it in. Okay. That would be, you can create invoices for any of these field sheets. Again, this is the case information where the PSS Pro ID is. These are the papers that you're going to actually take out and serve. So field sheet, a case can have many, many field sheets. Okay, and they don't have to be received at the same date and time. They can be received over a 3-year period of time or a 5-year period of time, however long the case goes. Once these papers are closed out, then you can create an invoice. You can't create any invoices right now because these two in our example have been closed out and already invoiced. You can send an email to your client. When you choose to send an email, it brings up the email form. It automatically populates the email address listed in the paralegal's name and the client reference in the subject. If you select new here, it actually brings up a new blank PSS Pro ID. Select new. Basically, it's asking you for a client reference. So client reference. So let's just put test CR, and then their client matter number might be this -01, like that. Because it's not in the drop down, you can see as we type and we filter it, as long as we're using the letters that are there, it's not going to get rid of the one that's in the browse. But if I put a space there, then a colon like that, a parentheses right there like that to close it, it's different than what is there. So as long as it's there, so now once you start typing, if this list were full, you'd be able to say, oh, this is the one I want. And then it will take you right back to this case. Remember, case information is where the case number is derived from. Field sheets are papers that need to be served in that case. From the process entry form, you can go to the case list. From the case list, you can sort by case number, and they're listed right in there. That's what you're looking for. And if you just tell it to, all of them work the same. So you say that's the one I want. Apply the filter. If there was a bunch of them in here, then this would be the only one that would show. You can also do it by client reference, by paralegal, or by law firm. You can either double click the one here to get us back to that case, or you can actually highlight it and then select view case down here. Or you can go right straight to the case number, in this case PSS Pro ID number 1. Or you can go straight to a field sheet list. The field sheet list looks the same. The only difference is it filters out by different areas. For example, serve to. This will be a great way to show you the example. I want to serve to. I want to see any papers that were served to Mark Smith. The filter gets rid of all the other papers that are there and show you only the one that you need for Mark Smith. Let's go ahead and get to